I just want to give you today 5 easy ways. And I say easy ways, they're easy to imagine, they're easy to do. The difficult part is to actually do them, right? So it's one of those things that the 5 things that we are looking at today, once you do them, they are easy to do. The hard part is actually taking the step and doing these things. Sometimes it's a matter of swallowing our pride. Sometimes it's a matter of swallowing our ego. But on the other side, if we can create strong connections with our kids in a way that they respect us without fearing us, if they can respect us without manipulation, if they can follow us without manipulation, coercion, without threats of punishment, and all the rest of it, that's the ultimate goal. To me, that is true leadership, right? To have people who you lead who are excited to follow you, that want to follow you, not because they have to, not because of a position that you have, not because might makes right, not because you have an authority over them, but because you lead in a way that inspires others to follow you. Whether that's inspires your kids to follow you, your partner to follow you follow your partner. It can go both ways, right? But whatever we have, we want to be the example to follow, so that our kids, so that people around us will want to follow us, so that we have an energy of leadership, and then we have control, not because we force control. That's not real control. Fear is not real control, and it's not real respect, and it's not real leadership. But if we can lead from the front. And today I have 5 ways that once we do these, it becomes a lot easier to become a leader. It becomes a lot easier for others to follow you. And that's what we're doing. So today we're going to be here probably for about 20 minutes, and then we'll have a Q&A time. If you are on my email list, which I will put that in the link below, if you're on my email list, then you are invited to join on these directly and live, to come onto the call so we can have a little powwow after we go off on Facebook, and welcome Instagram, right? So what's up? Angel, welcome. Long time no see. Okay, here we go. So 5 easy ways to connect with your kids. The first one, I'm starting with the first one strategically, and because this is the foundation for it all. So number one is, and by the way, these 5 things, they're going to seem very obvious, but like I said, they're obvious in theory, but a little challenging sometimes in practice, right? So by the way, if you have a pen and a paper to take notes, to follow along, that's always helpful just for your own retention. Here we go. Number one, be present. Be present. So, and you might say, Jesse, yeah, that's obvious. Thanks a lot. Right. And it's one of these cliches that are, it's easy to said, it's easy to say, it's easy to tell others. We all see TikTok videos and Instagram reels and things like that. Be present, what does that mean? Right. And like, let's take right now, for example, for you right now, if you're watching this on your computer or on your phone or whatever, how many tabs do you have open right now? Are you even on this tab? Are you watching this? Are you taking notes? Or are you, waiting to scroll to do something else? Are you doing something else and this is in the background? If you are, that's fine. That's okay. but I'm just saying that's not being present. That's an example of not being present. And to do that here for this video and to do this for this lesson, that's cool. That's fine. But when it comes to parenting, when it comes to us being parents, when it comes to us face to face with their kids, how many times do we have our phones and we're like, yeah, go play, you know? How many times are we sitting in the sofa and being like, and they come up and, whatever age, if they're toddlers, they say, mommy, 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 yeah. Or if they're 6, 7, 8, 9, they're fighting, and you're like, just go, stop fighting. Right? Because you're thinking and worried about bills, or you're worried about your business or your career, or you're thinking about the email that you have to write, or you're thinking about what you have to, go shopping, or you're thinking about what you have to do, take your kids here or there, or do this or that. And you're thinking about all these sorts of things, which means we're not present, right? So sometimes I'll give you a little exercise to do. So sometimes to get present, and if you're sitting down, great, that's even better. I'm not sitting down. But if you're sitting down, great. Just kind of close your eyes. Not kind of close your eyes. That was really a weak thing to say. Close your eyes if you're not driving. And just kind of feel your body. Get in tune with your body. Breathe deeply through your belly. Concentrate on breathing through your belly. Feel the bottoms of your feet. Bottoms of your feet. You might feel that the bottom of your right foot is feeling a little tingly, starting to tingle, and it feels kind of weird. You have this weird sensation on the bottom of your foot, your right foot specifically. And you're working up, going up your legs to your hips. You're feeling breathing in your belly. You feel that you feel those different parts of your body that I just said. Did you feel that? Like, comment below. Did you feel something as I was telling you those things? Did you feel the tingling in your foot? Did you feel some sort of sensation working up your legs to your hips, to your belly? Did you feel that? It's crazy what our imaginations can do. Right? And another thing to get present, sometimes I just sit and look at something or listen to something like some sort of like motor going, like the air conditioner motor or some sort of distant thing, right? Just to get present. This happened just yesterday. I was with my son and we had to go to a birthday party. And getting there turned into a hassle. We had to wait for like an hour for a ride, and we were sitting there for an hour, over an hour, like an hour and a half. And it would be easy, and it was my instinct to kind of say, oh, come on, like, oh, why does this always happen? Why is this happening today? What is going on? And turn into victim mode. Remember we talked about the 4 characters? We could either be the victim, the villain, the guide, or the hero. And it's easy to go into victim mode. Why is this happening? Why don't we I could just like order a taxi and we'll be there. Yeah, but I said to myself, and I posted it. Let me actually just read it. This is what I posted yesterday. When things don't seem to go right, it's my opportunity to get back to the present moment to get a bigger perspective. Because at the present moment, we get to see everything. If we're in the present moment, remember I talked about before, if you are in a parent leadership, you've seen this. I've talked about before that if we're at a lake, a beautiful lake, a nice, bright, clear, sunny day, there's a beautiful mountain scenery going on. We're on a lake. We might see a deer. We may see an eagle flying, soaring in the sky. That's beautiful. At the same time, at that same lake, there's a snake eating a rat, right? There's a fish eating another fish. There are horrors going on from their perspective. There's also beauty going on. Same thing in our lives. We have things that make us stressful. We have things that put us on edge. We have concerns. We have worries. We have, am I going to get them to this birthday party on time? I have to go shopping after this. We have to do this. But there's also so much more. If we're in the present moment, there's so much more that we could be observing too. And that's what I decided to do, right? Play with my son, watch him play, watch him use his imagination. That's beautiful, right? So the first thing, to create connection with our kids, because then if we are present with our kids, if we're present and they feel us present, there's no stronger connection than the present moment. Just by definition, there's no stronger connection than the present moment, because the present moment is all we have. Luis, what's up, man? Right? So get back to the present moment to connect, to create connection with ourselves. And that way we can connect with our kids, because as leaders, we need to go first. Right? Connect with ourselves. That's number one. Number two way to connect with our kids. Again, it might seem obvious. Ask questions. Ask questions. Right? Ask question. Isra, thank you for joining. Of course you're joining. You're the best. Present everywhere and nowhere. Present everywhere and nowhere. I like that. So the number two thing, ask questions, right? Ask more questions. And here's the key to asking more questions. I've talked about this in a lesson that I gave on a YouTube video. Ask to understand. Don't just ask questions. Like, there's a difference between like, why do you always do that? I don't mean that kind of question, right? There's a lot of communication that goes on in our intonation, right? Vicky, hey, what's up? Thanks for joining. There's a lot of communication that happens in our intonation. You know, I spent 17 years being an English teacher for non-native speakers, right? Intonation is huge. Intonation is more important than pronunciation in communication. So there's a difference between, why did you do that? And, why did you do that? Is there a way that we can work on this together? Remember, we're asking questions to be leaders, right? So questions, W questions, who, what, where, why, how, when. Well, how is an H question, right? But ask more questions and ask to understand. Don't ask to ask. Don't ask to have them answer. Don't ask to accuse. A lot of parents ask to accuse, right? Did you do your homework? Did you clean your room? Yeah, those are technically questions, but it's not questions to create connection, right? What's going on? How do you feel? One of my favorite questions to ask my kids, and I'll share this with you, and I want you to use it. I'm going to write it in the comments. How did you feel? Or how do you feel? And this is when they do good things or bad things, right? If one of our kids like hits another, right? Yeah. How did you feel when you did that? And then you ask to understand, because guess what? Maybe maybe they hit somebody, and you ask how they felt when they did that. And we don't ask with expectations. We ask to gather information, right? So maybe they'll say, I felt good. That is a lot of information. Maybe sometimes I want to hit somebody, and maybe after I hit them, I'll feel good. You know, remember, our kids are little humans. So all the things that I feel as a human, my children feel as a human. Everything that I am battling with inside, my children are battling with inside. If I want to hit people sometimes, I mean, I don't really want to hit people sometimes, well, sometimes, but they want to. And as adults, we should be able to understand those big feelings a little bit more. And sometimes we don't understand those big feelings. So how can our kids understand? And it's not like empathy. Empathy is a huge way. And this is like a bonus one. I'm going to actually write this like here, empathy. This is a bonus one that I don't have on my notes. Empathy. Is that spelled right? Right? If I have these big emotions, they're going to have these big emotions. It's part of being human. How do you feel? You know what I mean? So, we can, yes, Isra, we can also act to play the victim. And that's something very important. We're asking for understanding, right? There's so many times we can ask, like, why do you always do this? That's a little different than like, why do you seem to do this a lot? You know what I mean? Why do you seem to do this a lot? We have people coming in all over the place. So thank you guys. Say hi, right? Say hi right down below where you're from too, where you're tuning in from. So I love the expression, be more interested than interesting. Be interested. Ask questions with no expectations, but really gather information, right? Does that make sense? So, number 2, ask questions. Number 1, be present in the moment, in your body, with your senses. Look, see what you can see in the present moment. It gives a bigger perspective. Number 3, this is a big one. This, for some people, will be the hardest one, the most difficult one. I'm going to fix that. Vulnerable. This, for non-native speakers, is a challenging word to say too. Be vulnerable. This is the biggest one. This is the biggest one. Being vulnerable. And this kind of looks like if you don't know what to say, or you don't know what to do, or you don't know what move to make, you can say that, right? Like, listen, I'm really struggling. This is great for like step parents. If these aren't your biological kids or they're your partners and you want to create a connection with them and you kind of don't know how, right? You want to create a connection with these kids, but like maybe they think that you're trying to be their dad and they have a dad. They think that you're trying to be their mom and they have a mom, so they're resentful, and then they'll act up and you guys are butting heads. A way to break that front is to be vulnerable. Listen, I don't know what I'm doing here. You know, what if you said that? A lot of people, they might think saying something like that, they won't have any respect for me. If I tell them I don't know what I'm doing, why would they respect me? I'll tell you why. That's a good question. Because it's honest. Because it's transparent. because it's transparent. That's why they would respect that, right? Listen, I don't know what to do, but let's figure this out together. What do you want? Right? As leaders, we should know we should know what we want first, right? What do we want as parent leaders? Do we want them to respect us in our authority? Do we want them to respect my authority? Or do we want them to feel empowered so they grow up and so they become leaders of people around them? Or do I want what I want and I am the authority in this house? My way or the highway, my roof, my rules. That's what a lot of people grew up with. So they enter that cycle, right? If you have been in this cycle and if you have been in this cycle and you find those sorts of things coming out of your mouth that you kind of don't believe, but you want, but you don't know another way, right? Be vulnerable. I have a lesson called the cycle breaker that gives you the powerful reasons, the emotional reasons, the biological reasons for those cycles and why they're so powerful, and then 3 specific steps to break those cycles and come out of those cycles so you don't have to be controlled by your generational patterns or the cultural patterns wherever you're living. There are 3 specific steps that I've used to break free from those, and I teach those for you. It's called the cycle breaker. You can get that below as well, completely free. So, or you can DM me and ask me for the cycle breaker lesson, and I'll send it to you. So, number 3, be vulnerable. As leaders, we should know what we want, and then that will make it easier to guide others, right? So, number 4, this is so important. This is where these generational cycles get us, right? Number 4 is respect boundaries. Respect boundaries. As parents, we often think of boundaries as something we give to our kids, like, you don't talk back to me, or respect me, or respect your brother, respect your sister. What about me as a parent leader going first? What if our kids have boundaries? And what if I should respect their boundaries first? Meaning respect their body boundaries, respect their wishes, and I don't mean passive permissive parenting, this and that, but I mean showing respect to get respect. I am a believer that respect comes from the top down, meaning as leaders, we need to respect ourselves first and demonstrate, we're leading from the front, demonstrate the behavior that we want them to follow, right? Like what would this look like if you're watching this live or replay? What would this look like? Respecting their boundaries. Maybe if you have a teenager and like respecting their room. My house, my rules. That's my, when they pay rent, then they get to say and they get to have their space. Well, that's okay. That's okay. But just know when they leave, you're probably not going to have a relationship with them. And you're probably not going to have a relationship with your grandkids. That's just the truth. You can have your house and your rules. You can have your house or the highway, but if they choose the highway, it's a one-way street usually. And then it goes back to all of this: be vulnerable, ask questions, and that's a lot harder once your kids are grown and out of the house to be vulnerable and say, oh, you know what, I messed up. What if you swallowed your pride, you respected their boundaries, and when they were in the house, when they were younger, you led from the front, you demonstrated behavior. Like, how many times have you seen parents or felt, don't hit, you know, don't hit. How many times did I tell you, stop yelling? Right? So there's like a conflict there, so respect their boundaries. Act in a way that you want them to repeat, because they will. Act in a way that you want them to model, because they will. And I've said this to parents and they say, like, well, when are they going to model cleaning doing the dishes or whatever? Well, they will. They'll model your behavior. But guess what? If you're doing the dishes, complaining why they never do the dishes, or complaining why am I the only one to getting back into the victim? Why am I the only one who ever does anything around here? Why don't I ever get any help? If that's your, attitude, if you're doing these things, if you're doing the chores, you're sweeping the floor, and with that kind of attitude, is that something that you would want to be a part of? Is that what is something that you would want to join in on? Right? So there's that too. How are you presenting this behavior that you are? Hey, Carmen, how are you presenting this behavior that you're demonstrating? Right? So respect boundaries. Number 5, and this is the last one, and this kind of I should have probably put this earlier, but we kind of actually touched on this. As leaders, go first. As leaders, go first. We're modeling behavior, right? We're modeling behavior that we want them to follow. We're modeling behavior that we hopefully will want them to follow and behave. But if we are quick to yell, if we are quick as parents, as leaders, as parent leaders, if we are quick to lose our cool, if we are quick to hit, if we are quick to criticize, let's say, imagine one day they do get inspired and they want to impress us, and then they take it upon themselves to clean the bathroom, or they take it upon themselves to start sweeping the floor, cleaning the room. Do you finally finally you get into that, about time, um do we have that kind of attitude? Or do we say, oh, that's awesome, thank you, that's amazing, and then maybe give them a reward, because we work on rewards, right? We want to reward them with their behavior as close to the desired behavior as possible. So there have been studies on this, that the longer separation there is from the behavior and the reward, the more distant in our psychology and in our brains that behavior is from the reward. I said that really poorly right there, right? But the longer time, so if we can have a reward, have a behavior and a reward immediately or within a minute or within 2 minutes, then that reward is connected in our brain closely to that behavior. But even as little as like 5 minutes of a delay, then that connection to that behavior in our brain, it weakens. And it's not connected. They're two separate things. And the longer the time is that it's not rewarded, that behavior goes unrewarded, the less of a connection that reward is with that behavior. So then they are two separate events. Does that make sense? So it's like something crazy, like 5 minutes. It's really close. Less with kids. So we want to model the behavior and then reward desired behavior.